Philadelphia police investigating after another violent night in the city. 12 people shot in less than 2 hours.
12 people shot in less than 2 hours. This is why I get tired of people, mainstream people. Like, when they try to talk about gun violence, they always say Chicago. They talk about the entirety of gun violence as if it's just Chicago. They'll say Chicago, 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 Chicago. Listen, man. I can name 10 cities per capita that are worse than Chicago. Philly, 1.5 million people. Chicago, 3 million people. Literally neck and neck in murders. Philly is a dangerous city, man. And they smoke sisters in Philly. And that's what we're going to get into today. So make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe. They smoke sisters. Being woke and marching. Them little homies out there, they don't know that you was at the march. They don't know that you be bucking up on your white friends and your white lovers when political conversations come up. They don't know you the first one in the room to say, they need more stuff for these kids to do. Why they over-policing our young men? And they don't know that you be saying that in conversations at school, in class, when class conversations during your little social studies class turn political. They don't know you got up and said, black men are constantly being looked at as they don't get a fair. They don't know you said that, sister. You just out here and you food. Period. So if you just doing all that wokey woke crap for just yourself, fine. But if you think you're getting something for it in return, you's a damn fool.
Philadelphia police investigating after another violent night in the city. 12 people shot in less than 2 hours. 2 women were shot just after 11 o'clock last night at 46th and Walnut in West Philadelphia. A 36-year-old woman was shot in the face, chest, and torso, and she passed away. A 33-year-old woman was shot in the legs and arm and is now hospitalized in critical condition. Investigators say they believe both of those women may have been targeted. In all, at least 21 shots were fired.
Several of the spent shell casings appear to be rifle rounds because they're much longer and appear to come from a rifle. And the other spent shell casings are clearly from a semi-automatic handgun. So we know 2 weapons were used.
So far, police...
This isn't the chief. The chief is the sister. But this is the chief inspector in Philly. They running up on sisters. And trust me, it's over foolishness. But they running up on sisters, gun blazing. Something somebody said on Twitter. Somebody sneak dissing on Facebook. Or somebody brother did something. Oh, there go his sister. They running up on sisters nationwide. It's a whole new ball game, sister.
601. 2 sisters shot on their front stoop, some of the latest victims of Philadelphia's violence. So Steve Healy is live at Penn Presbyterian, and even though this story is so tragic, also 9 people total shot overnight.
Well, it's actually 15. It depends on what time you start the overnight, but 15 since the commander I talked to started his shift, which is before the sun goes down. And he was at the scenes of 3 people killed, and I'll get to them. But I'm going to start with actually positive news in all this mayhem, because we're at Penn Presbyterian.
Straight from the streets. They look like they grabbed this guy out of Kensington, man. He look like one of them white guys down in Kensington, man.
Of 3 people killed, and I'll get to them. But I'm going to start with actually positive news in all this mayhem, because we're at Penn Presbyterian, where we were with the 6-year-old son of the sister who survived. And we met him when police raced back, whether another guy came back to the same scene with a gun. And we didn't know. One cop said somebody might be back here to finish the job or looking for whoever they intended to kill. So me and the 16-year-old came over here, a live truck followed, and then he got some good news and came out and told me that his mom is going to be okay and may actually get released as early as today. And so he's going to try to go home and sleep somehow.
I'm sorry, but released, man. I tell the hospital to keep me back. You mean some guys came back up to the scene to finish the job? Man, keep me. Extended stay. Hospice. Send me to a hospice. Talking about she about to be released. They need to put her in the witness protection program. The Pookie protection program. Start protecting people from this stuff, man. God. Dog.
And when police raced back, whether another guy came back to the same scene with a gun. And we didn't know. One cop said somebody might be back here to finish the job or looking for whoever they intended to kill. So me and the 16-year-old came over here, a live truck followed, and then he got some good news and came out and told me that his mom is going to be okay and may actually get released as early as today. And so he's going to try to go home and sleep somehow. And this is where we are now. This is the video of the 46th and Walnut scene, a nice renovated apartment building. They were outside because it's so hot and they were trying to keep cool. The 33-year-old mother of the 16-year-old, the one that survived, lives there. Her 36-year-old sister was just over visiting. They thought, let's hang out. The 33-year-old son that we went with was inside playing video games. And he hears over the sound of his loud video games what he thinks is fireworks. And he goes, nope, it's too loud. It's getting too loud and it's too long. And then suddenly his mom runs in screaming, bleeding. He sees the bullet wound that's in her arm. She's shot in the legs as well. They run in the back for cover. And then he finally goes out and he sees his aunt shot in the eye, in the face, in the chest, in the back, on the steps, bleeding badly. The police arrive. They rush both sisters to the hospital. One survives, one does not.
21 shots were fired from 2 separate caliber semi-automatic weapons. Several of the spent shell casings appear to be rifle rounds because they're much longer and appear to come from a rifle. And the other spent shell casings are clearly from a semi-automatic handgun. So we know 2 weapons were used. Due to the fact that the ballistic evidence is so close to where they were sitting, some shell casings on the highway, many shell casings on the sidewalk, and they were struck so many times, it appears that one of them or both may have been the intended target or targets.
All right, so then we have this scene at the Whitehall Apartments up in Frankfurt, where there was another murder right around the same time the 2 sisters were shot. And this is a 45-year-old man who's actually from where we are in West Philly. Some reason he's in Frankfurt. You'll notice a crutch in the video. Police think he was walking with a crutch. And somebody, again, savagely stands over him up close, just like they did with the rifle standing close to the sister, firing away, and shoots him at least 8 times in the face, in the chest, and in the back. And the bullet shells are just bouncing off that victim's body and found an inch or 2 away from that person's body.
They shooting women. They running up on women with rifles and semi-automatic handguns, finishing them off. They running up on dudes with crutches. Back in my day, if you had some glasses, if you wore glasses, dude would probably hesitate to try to fight you or something. Like, now they running up on dudes with crutches and just standing over them and emptying the clip in their face. It's wicked out there, man. Woo, it's wicked out there. Yikes. You can't even be disabled, man. You can't even, like, it's like the jungle. It's literally a jungle out there, man. When a lion run up on a pack of wildebeest, he looking for a female or a injured one or a cub, a little baby one. He's looking for the easiest kill he can possibly find. The one, because predatory animals like eagles, big cats, pythons, things of that nature, they looking for the easiest kill. And oftentimes that's the female of the species. Oftentimes that's the young of the species. Oftentimes that's the injured or the old, elder. These people, it's literally like a jungle out there.
All right, so then we have this scene at the Whitehall Apartments up in Frankfurt, where there was another murder right around the same time the two sisters were shot. And this is a 45-year-old man who's actually from where we are in West Philly. Some reason he's in Frankfurt. You'll notice a crutch in the video. Police think he was walking with a crutch. And somebody, again, savagely stands over him up close, just like they did with the rifle, standing close to the sister, firing away, and shoots him at least 8 times in the face, in the chest, and in the back. And the bullet shells are just bouncing off that victim's body and found an inch or two away from that person's body. And then, in addition to all the other shootings that happened nonstop, he said it's like a weekend of violence that you talk about on Monday mornings in one shift so far, and the shift hasn't ended yet. So, and all the craziness, it starts out with a man on a dirt bike, which we've been reporting on endlessly. He's at K and Erie Streets up in Hunting Park, goes through the red light, according to witnesses who talked to police, and the tractor-trailer driver, who's 56 and stopped immediately. The 31-year-old guy on the dirt bike is dead instantly on the scene from a massive wound, and the dirt bike is gone. When the cops get there, and they're like, what do you mean he was riding a dirt bike? And they said, well, before you guys got here in like 50 seconds, somebody came along and already stole the dirt bike, started it, and drove away with the dirt bike. A second time that somebody was killed on a dirt bike, we had the 21-year-old man that Hank Flynn reported up in Port Richmond on June 12th, shot and killed, and then somebody stole his dirt bike. So there's some depravity right there, Jason.
So they've got 2 cases in the last few weeks where dudes have been killed on dirt bikes. And before the police can get to the scene, someone steals the dirt bike from under the dead guy's body. And listen, man, I can kind of get that. If it's a jungle and you know the police are going to process the dirt bike and put it in evidence and it's going to sit, and these guys are like, man, it's a jungle out there. I can get that more than I can get the killing. It's a jungle out there, man.
Is gone. When the cops get there, and they're like, what do you mean he was riding a dirt bike? And they said, well, before you guys got here in like 50 seconds, somebody came along and already stole the dirt bike, started it, and drove away with the dirt bike. A second time that somebody was killed on a dirt bike, we had the 21-year-old man that Hank Flynn reported up in Port Richmond on June 12th, shot and killed, and then somebody stole his dirt bike. So there's some depravity right there, Jason and Alex. Somebody stealing the dirt bike next to the dead person's body right there on Erie Avenue.
Well, how low can we go? I mean, it doesn't get any lower than that. Steve Keeley at Penn. Thank you very much, Steve. My goodness.
In other news, this evening, Delaware State Police have arrested a Philadelphia woman in connection with the shooting death yesterday of a woman outside Christiana Mall. Matt Petrillo has spoken exclusively to a family member of the victim, and he joins us now from Newark. Matt?
Yuki, that victim's family identified her as Alexis Woods of Newark. Police tell us the victim was shot and left for dead on this road right by Christiana Mall. And now her grieving aunt tells me she wants to know why.
For somebody just to shoot her in her head like that, she didn't deserve it.
Delaware State Police rushed to Christiana Mall Road in Newark after a black Ford Fusion collided into a guardrail around 4 o'clock Monday evening. That's when police found 27-year-old Alexis Woods shot in the driver's seat of a car. The well-known Newark hairdresser later died.
Wow, well-known Newark hairdresser. In this picture, she looks like a Muslim. Like she's a practicing Muslim. Very pretty young lady. In this picture, this looks like an exotic dancer, man. Hey, man. They say she's a hairdresser, a well-known hairdresser. Wow. Just gunned down like that, man. And left there. These aren't crackheads being murdered in the streets over, a drug deal going. Somebody stole some drug boy's pack or something like that. This is like everyday regular citizens being gunned down in broad daylight. Newark, Delaware. This ain't even Newark, New Jersey. Some people say there is no such thing as a Sun community. The Sun community doesn't exist. But there are some things that make us a community. This. Wherever you go where we are, this happens. Newark, New Jersey, Newark, Delaware. It's the same thing.
State police rushed to Christiana Mall Road in Newark after a black Ford Fusion collided into a guardrail around 4 o'clock Monday evening. That's when police found 27-year-old Alexis Woods shot in the driver's seat of a car. The well-known Newark hairdresser later died.
I had got a phone call early this morning on my way to work. Unexpected, that she was shot. She had got shot in the head. And we found out that it was someone that she had known.
Police have not yet revealed what led up to the shooting, but authorities did say Shadia McNear was a passenger in the vehicle and had ran from the scene.
And you heard what I just said.
When we went to a North Philadelphia home that's listed where McNear lives, this man came out and told us to leave. Meantime, police found and arrested McNear Monday near the crash scene. She's now charged with manslaughter, but that's not good enough for Wood's family.
To me, it was premeditated. You already knew what you was going to do.
So she's charged with manslaughter. There go that unjust system that's... I just don't know how people allow Sun people to say that in public. And they all say it. Like, oh, the criminal justice system, especially with Cosby getting free, all of them online complaining about the criminal justice system after he got free on a technicality. To something that he's been doing for 40 years. From something that every dude online caping for him would want to kill him for if he did that to one of the females in their family. But they're all online cheering on his release. But the criminal justice system is beyond fair, man. This woman's charged with manslaughter. She'll do 8 years and be back on the streets. I just don't know how they allow some people to run around and just throw that out there like it's a fact. Like it's an undisputed fact that the criminal justice system is just against black people. They just never get a fair shake ever. It's like, what?
To me, it was premeditated. You already knew what you was going to do.
And we just received moments ago court documents showing a fight inside that car between the suspect and her girlfriend. The victim ultimately led to that gunfire. Meantime, Philadelphia police tell us that suspect was charged last year for a gun offense as well. She was out on bail waiting for a preliminary trial.
Told you. She had a gun offense last year and was out on bail. And it just killed her girlfriend. Ball out on bail for another gun crime. Stop letting these people say that the criminal justice system, and this ain't no one-off. This is the norm. And some of y'all, I'll be like, where y'all from? Like everybody's, you notice how everybody's a gangster online, and everybody's hood, and everybody got all these hood stripes, but yet they don't know that yet the biggest threat in their community is the police. And every black person that go in the criminal justice system get fried the first time. You can't be from the hood. You can't be from the streets and say nothing like that. Ain't no way you know 5 dudes from the streets if you say something like that. You can't know 5 guys from the streets, period. 2 and have that opinion. Throughout the years, just living in the neighborhood and growing up with guys and knowing what they doing in their story and different things, and their activities and their doings, and come to the conclusion that police is the biggest threat. When you leave the house, your biggest chance of getting whacked is by a police officer. And if a brother get arrested, it's straight to the election chair. and anytime they go in front of a judge, they're gonna get a raw deal. You can't know. You can't be from the streets. You can't know any hood brothers. You just don't. You just a square when you say that. And we got to start calling. And it's fine to be a square, but you are a square if you think that. If that's what you think, you're a square.